So like I said, I want to start with stories. So Leah, go ahead and start with your, so they want to sell two houses or buy two houses and then sell?
They actually, so they have two properties. So one they live on, they want to sell, and then another one they said is they're renting to their cousin,
Yeah.
and the cousin would like to buy it. She was like, I'm not sure if I need a realtor for it because I already have a buyer. So I guess I want to know if I can help them with that. And then she said their house, they're going to be selling here within 2 to 3 months. They're just kind of fixing it up, I guess. And then she said that they want to buy a house after they sell the one that's being rented. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely help, even if people have buyers in place. We can still help. We can do it one of two ways. We can just do the paperwork and not put it in the MLS, or we can even put it in the MLS just straight as pending. And just do it as a, hey, we're putting this in here just for statistical and appraisal purposes only. So we can definitely help them on both fronts. Keep in mind, when we sell properties that they do, that's not their main residence. And it's an investment property, they will be subject to capital gains taxes.
Okay.
So that is something they'll need to talk to their accountant about, because they'll be based on their tax bracket and a bunch of other factors. So you want to let them know, like, hey, once you sell, you will be subject to capital gains. So have you set up the next meeting yet with them?
Yeah, I told her, well, not in, like a definite meeting, but I told her, because I was talking to her last night when I was at work. I told her I'll call her sometime this week, probably tomorrow, because I work today as well. Just to figure out exactly, how I can help them when they want to buy exactly, stuff like that.
Yeah, so anytime these come up, even if you're not 100% sure, I mean, rarely will the answer be we cannot help them. So always be confident enough to go ahead and set the meeting. Try to make it, 3, 4, 5 days down the road if we can, just so we have time to prepare. But yeah, definitely today, let's get a meeting on the books and get as many details as you can, like addresses, their timelines that they're looking at. And then you and I can get together and put together like a listing packet for it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, perfect. Josh, we're gonna pick on you next, because what's that?
I had a question about
Oh,
that.
for sure.
You with the capital gains, if it's you mentioned a non-resident, does the capital gains hit no matter immediately? Or does it still have like that 2-year rule?
That'd be a tax person question. I do not know. You can do 1031 exchanges, which pushes it down the road, but that's not 2 years. That's like 90 days. You have to go out and buy another property for like value and things like that. My assumption, it just comes in as income and you get taxed just like a tax bill for the tax cycle.
Because I know typically if you're living in the house, if you live there longer than 2 years, you don't get hit with capital gains.
Correct.
I think you're right.
If you live if it's your main residence, 2 out of the last 5 years, there's no capital gains. She said they live in one, not in the other.
So if you're
the
not
other
living in it, you're just gonna get capital gains regardless how long. Okay.
People will try to play all sorts of games. They'll be like, well, what if we put my name on this house and my spouse's name on that one?
Is that the homestead?
That's what keeps you out from capital gains, because that says, hey, this is our main residence, because in the state of Indiana, you only get one. So people try all sorts of stuff like, no, we're not doing it. One, it opens you up for liability. So, but they want to save money on taxes and all that. So I don't know if this is county by county or if it's statewide, but remember on your main residence, your taxes are 1% of assessed value. And then if it's your main residence, you get the homestead exemption, things like that. Investment property is 2% of the assessed value, and there are no exemptions. So right there, it's already a saltier tax. The loans are generally 20 years versus 30 years, so now your payment's higher there. Your interest rate's usually about 1% higher. So having an investment property, there's some just off the top expenses that you gotta think about. So it's about, just depending on the price of the house, it could be considerably more to own it, but again, it's income producing, right? So when people complain about rents, I have to remind them, like, the landlords, they got these extra expenses, plus you're also paying their profit. That's the expense you're not thinking about. if I'm renting from you, you're gonna be like, every month I wanna make 20%. So whatever rent is, I want 20% of that to be pure profit. Like homeowners insurance taken care of, property taxes, my mortgage payment, my interest, a little bit saved back for repairs, and then here's my profit margin. So when people complain about the rent, I'm like, go back. Simple solution. You don't pay profit margin, your taxes are a lot cheaper, your interest rates are better, and you get 10 additional years to pay it off.
Yeah.
So rent. Okay. Rent, 100% interest, buying, 7. But you'll be amazed how many people got arguments.
Yeah.
People sit there and complain, who rents? You might have to rent this. You don't have, if you don't flush it.
1053.
1053.
Is that in a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
That's just a.
Bad.
No, that's not ours.
You probably have all utilities and everything.
Well, that's not bad compared to others.
Yeah.
Not bad compared to others, but it still is pretty high.
It definitely is for the demographics,
Yeah,
but
so,
at the time, looking for other.
Yeah.
I'll pay you.
yeah. So one of my rental, it's 1550 a month. That's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet, fenced in backyard.
See, there's apartments going for that. At
Right,
least
so
they
that's
got
where
a
it's like, so I'm just like, okay, but then I've had some people when they see the place, they're like. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
I'll still sell you a house. Here's my car. Like, it's like, it is what it is.
He said 3-bedroom, I got a 4-bedroom.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
so that, I was like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Because they are very steep right now. That's, I wanna buy. Oh, wait, $13,000 a year.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she's making it. It's gonna be her house one day, not mine, but I pay.
But yeah, so capital, I mean, that'd be a tax question for a tax advisor, I should say, but yeah, if it's your residence 2 out of the last 5 years, you're good.
You
Let's
can
talk
pick on
about,
me.
yeah, so sell our own house. It's the same process, and he just went through this. Only thing we have to do is we have to disclose that we have a financial interest in the property. So whether it's our residence we live in, it's a rental we own, it's a relative, we have to disclose all of that. Just so it's like, hey, we're negotiating essentially with this.
Relatives, yeah.
And if you're related, I mean, it doesn't hurt to just, like, I don't know, I honestly don't know the answer if there's like a third cousin removed, try to cut off, but if you know you're related, just disclose it. And I just got one under contract and I completely forgot, because we were looking at so many different houses that the listing agent was the seller. And I'm like, they didn't answer, so I'm like, hey, anything important to the seller? So blah, 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 they're like, well, I am the seller. I'm like, oh, yeah. So, hey, anything important to you besides price? He was like, no. Fair. So, other than that, it's the same process. It can be nice that you're dealing, but some people don't want to sell their own house because people can be mean on feedback, right? And make you feel like, am I really living that badly? You know what I mean? Like, I've had some people, it's just like, just taking shots at me right now, like, so some people don't wanna deal with their own house, like, they might list it, they won't do the open houses though, and things like that, so. But process was pretty smooth, I think,
Yeah,
selling your own house overall.
multiple offers. Which I'm glad. And the first offer fell through and then they went back to the backup offer and they snagged it right up.
How do you think we're quote unquote off market for like less than 24 hours, or more than 24 hours? I should say.
Yeah.
We didn't even change the status in the MLS, I mean, it was just that quick.
Yeah, when it fell through that very same day, reached out to them and we had a signed agreement the next day. Might have been 2 days, but
This is why when we're representing the seller.
it was my house. I sold my house.
So they needed more space for the fan, got more space.
Had my other house lined up to where it all closed on the same day, so it was definitely a lot of,
About 5 days worth of like diagramming.
yeah, it was definitely some work for me.
Yeah, but but it all worked out.
Yeah.
So, this is why we never, when we're representing a seller, and part of our winning the seller pitch, if you will, is we don't burn bridges, and we won't say it to our sellers that way. Thanks so much for your offer. Unfortunately, we went in a different direction. If anything should happen, we'll let you know.
Yeah. We
We didn't go to them and be like, this is a horrible offer, and make them feel, we didn't burn that bridge. Until we're at that closing table, nothing is closed. We kept a good relationship with that other agent. One phone call, we're back on. This is why it's so important when you get multiple offers that you keep everybody as happy as possible. There's gonna be people disappointed they didn't go to the house. That's expected. But we need to have as many offers in the pipeline as possible. There's a reason I personally do not put sold or pending signs on my listings. I want people driving by. Show of hands right now, like if you drove by a house that said sold or pending on it, would you call?
No.
Exactly. I want all of you to call.
Does it say for
Sorry.
sale or does it just?
It says for sale on the sign part, but I don't put the rider on top. That's a sold or pending. Again, there's no right or wrong. We're not breaking any rules by not doing it. If I want all of you to call me. Hey, I love your house, blah, blah, blah. Fortunately, it's not in the contract, but hey, what caught your eye about the house? This is where when we talk about homework and understanding the market, it's so important. Well, 3 neighborhoods over, there's actually a new one. I was just kind of looking at some other people missed out. It could be a great fit. You have a we gotta start working that in our conversation.
Okay, there you go. That's smart.
So show me the house.
That's smart.
It's the same idea of an open house, right? You've heard me talk about numerous times. Know the inventory around. If they don't like that house, show them something in that area. Same thing here. I want as many calls. We've had where 3, 4 deals in a row falling apart. Or we struggle to get traction or whatever it is. We're trying to keep as many people interested as possible. It's the best representation I've seen.
I will add another note. To the not burning bridges part, the person that bought my house, she was working with another real estate agent. But apparently she liked how I was handling everything so well. Even after the close, I went over there and I helped clean out things and get the house ready for them to move in after the sale. And she actually is gonna refer me to someone in her family instead of her own agent she had.
And that's nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. When that contract is done, they went through closing. He's there after closing. He's not even asking for business. He's just being a good dude.
Yeah, I was just helping them.
That's how simple it is to make an impression on a person. There's so many a-holes in the world.
Yeah.
To stand out from the crowd. We went to the stores, like 3 different stores yesterday. All of them, my God, like this is who you have working, your shit. All horrible moves. One of them was at Costco, which I get, there's 4,000 people in line at Costco on a Sunday. I was trying to go to South Carolina, she's like, you don't wanna go over there, I'm like. Yeah, I do. She's like, I'll take you 3 times as long as over there, and I was like. Challenge accepted. I'm like, Scan and scan and scan, walk into the door and I was like, all the people we were standing behind are still in line. waiting. I was
Challenge
just like,
accepted.
just let me. You know, then we went to Kroger and the lady was just, I was just like, my God, these are like the face of your company. This was somebody like Isaac, so. Walk in, you feel well.
Yeah.
Smile, how you doing? Want some coffee? What can I do? He's got renters coming. We don't even do anything. We have like Frankie and Vicky and then they do rentals, so their checks get dropped off here. We have other companies, nothing to do with it. They still feel well. They'll still sit there and listen to their stories. You feel well.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
how we need to be with our people. We're in the customer service business.
after the sale happened, I had some stuff contracted that needed fixed, that I would pay people to come fix. That was brought up in inspections and stuff, and so I took care of that. But there were some things like the railing was loose on the basement, going down the basement. There was some thing, I don't even know what it was, in the ground in the yard out back. It's been there since I bought the house. Dave didn't like it. So I dug that up and got that out of the yard, fixed the railing going down the basement, stuff I didn't have to do, but I was just helping her out and
Exactly.
she appreciated it and.
Yep.
So,
So this lasts a little longer, so the rest of, there's gonna be slides in here that apply to your situations. But I wanna kind of keep us on track here, so. And I love in this picture, by the way, somebody's hands in the picture.
yeah.
Every time I've done this slide,
Are we sure that's a hand?
I think it's something. It's trying to be in the picture. It kind of looks like a hand to me, but maybe not, but
Oh,
It's not-
that was the side of her face. It's a
Oh,
smile, do you see?
somebody's
Anyways,
hand.
not that it matters. Yeah, do you see it? She's.
oh, her arms got, oh, okay, okay.
I mean, it's
That
still not.
still looks creepy. It looks like a potato. All right, so when the sellers, we're in the transaction part of it. Again, all of these are important. We're learning our career, we're learning our career path. We're learning how to get and convert leads. How do we, keep the leads? Now we're in the appointment stage. So now we're talking about when the seller, it's not that different from when the buyer. What are we gonna do to stand out from the crowd? That's essentially what today's session's all about. Do you guys remember what A sellers are?
The one's
These-
ready to go right
Bingo.
now.
Yep. Again, we put people in buckets A, B, and C, right? So these are people going into A bucket. Not saying we're not talking to B and C bucket people. But we have to be prepared to have these different conversations. While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to the highest level with the lowest cost and the highest net. And this is the core of the MREA book. Why do we say sellers are the best use of your time?
Cause it's the lowest amount of work. I mean, typically. Then like a buyer, like you could go to like 50 houses. Then they finally get it. With the seller, I mean, like you just get the request for showing time. You just
Bingo.
approve it.
Yeah, you got it spot on. We're not chasing buyers now, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Some people find it boring. I rather work with buyers personally. I like going out showing houses. I like getting to know the family. There's agents here that hate it, and there's no, we can't all be a buyer's agent, we can't all be a listing agent, this is just the nature of it. We all serve our purpose, right? But listings do, by and large, a higher return on investment, it's essentially what we say. Your time spent is more valuable on a listing. Who's read the MREA book all the way through? Highly recommend it.
I'm only on like page 20.
First half of the book is your business now. It's talking about leads, listing, leverage, so the triangle that we always show. Second half of the book just shows you where you can take your business if you so choose. How to build a team, how to make $1 million in commission. That's the essence of the book. But it starts with building your career. There. So again, A sellers, then we're gonna talk about get the point. Pre-listing packet, listing appointment, listing agreement. And then our recaps. They say the next 14 days, to me, a ready seller is like the next 90 days. You can make your buckets however you want. Mine generally goes 0 to 90 days and you go into the A bucket, so you're my main focus. B bucket's 91 days to a year. C bucket is a year or longer. We want to always be talking to all of these people, newsletters, phone calls, texts, save searches, whatever it is. These will be my main focus though. Further away you are from transacting, the more automated I touch it. And here's the trend now. Leads, listings, leverage. Yes, sir.
Your main focus is A sellers.
Just A clients.
A
'cause-
clients.
Yeah. right.
Where, especially if they're A clients that are kind of in that 90-day range and not right away. If you have other agents that are referring things to you, but not, you're just gonna get paid to show a house or do whatever you gotta do. Do you typically still put that over the people
So,
that you're,
She calls you, she's on vacation with her family.
yeah,
She calls you, hey, can you show a buyer for me today? Is that what you're talking about?
more or less like in my situations, I work with Natasha. She's out of state, so usually whenever she has people, she calls me and I
Yeah.
do all the work for her. And then she usually gives me some sort of, when it closes, some sort of something from it.
Nothing total.
Nothing till it closes, correct? But if it's happening, am I putting it on the back burner for my own stuff? Or would
Can I
I?
ask some follow-up questions before I answer that?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to answer these, because again, it's your personal business, you're perfectly fine. What's your split when it closes?
So when it's her thing and I'm just doing the work for her, last time I got paid like $250 for it.
Okay.
And that was just, and letting them in houses, showing them stuff, things like that. It's I get 30% if she literally referred them to me. She gets 30%. But if it's still her client and I'm just doing the physical work, I got $250.
So that's where you got, for lack of a better term, dollar versus BS ratio, right? So she refers you, her and him. But these two are your clients that are in this, ready to go, and they all need to see houses the same day. I would hope you're prioritizing those two. You give up 40 of these, you're not even half your commission from her.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. So it's like, if I have time, heck yeah, I mean, $200 to spend 4 hours. Sure.
So if my client is in like the 90-day range.
But I'm talking on the day.
Yeah, oh, well, so
But
if,
she's
yeah,
telling me
on
on
the
Friday.
day, I would do my guys
Yeah,
first.
but that's
Okay.
how minute I would make that decision.
Okay.
Buyers or sellers, again, I don't know how she does her listing appointments and such, but if all these people need to see Saturday afternoon and all in that same 5-hour window, these two better be your priority, first part of the day, second part of the day, or vice versa. And then these guys just get whatever's left over. Cause you may get $200. You may get $200 or $250. So this, you might get $7,000.
You have to buy in that, same with me person, you do 2 separate showings, then you might.
Separate. Now you can try to back them up. The way I would do it, let's say, so I keep pointing at all of you. So let's say these are your two buyers, similar interests. Where's one house they both want to see? You send them all the same houses, but there's only one house there's like a overlap. Show him houses like 1, 2, 3, and house 3 is the one he wants to see. Finish up, have him meet you at house 3, and you just do back-to-back showings and they're crossing paths. And then you go show him houses 3, 4, and 5, but then you stay at that one house.
See that somebody else is interested for the
No,
house.
but you're not driving, leaving, and then coming back,
Okay.
saves your time. Again, if that's if everybody's scheduled, I've had it where I've like driven across town, did more showings, and I had to drive all the way back to that same exact house, just because the schedules. Our schedule is what our clients. But no, I wouldn't ever overlap a showing. Now, if you're hosting the open house, that's a different story. Invite both clients to the open house. It's a great problem. Yeah. So this is where you got to play Switzerland. So you show them both house 3, they both want to write an offer. You can't talk to him about, he's right, vice versa. You can write the offer. But we've had literally where it's come down to like nickels, like is the difference on the offer kind of thing. And we're just like, because we've had like the listing agent call me, like, who do you want to win? Basically asking like, who have you been working with longer that you want to get off your plate? Great question as a listing agent. It's like, hey, we build a report here. And we're like, been working for like 4 months. He just started, like, please. And he needs the victory, right? Because chances are, if we've been showing houses for 4 months, we probably missed out on some, got beaten out, getting frustrated. He's 1 week in, he's still like, this is awesome.
Do you have to disclose that you're basically competing with yourself before that?
You can, but you don't have to. The only time you gotta disclose is when you're representing both sides of the deal.
So Brian, after closing, like a big part of that, you are the buyer agent in that deal, like how I feel that.
Again, you can disclose it. I personally wouldn't. So let's go through this. So the client finds out, they call you, like, hey, like, it's got you down as a buyer's agent, which, is that on Zillow?
I don't think it is.
I've never really looked up,
On my
I don't
house.
think it is. So they would have to get into the MLS or somebody would have to tell them, but let's just say
Oh, that-
somehow they found out. Yeah, I was representing both, by law, we don't have to disclose.
Oh,
And I gave you the exact advice, whether I was representing only you. I gave you the same exact advice. I did not change my advice, and I would even, perfect, thank you. I would take that even a step further, like, were you ultimately comfortable with our offer? So, yeah, I did right by you and I did right by this other client, and they're just willing to go, a little bit deeper into that offer. And that was ultimately the determinant factor. And
One minute, like you talk to the selling agent and there's already this offer, so. In order to spare you the pain of putting in identical offers on the same house for another, or do you just put in this identical offer?
I mean, you're gonna base your advice to your client, or you should, based on what you know. So like, I'm the agent for both of you. I know roughly I know what you're approved for, what's important to you, blah, blah, blah. Same thing for him. My advice is gonna be based on that. When I'm talking to you, he doesn't exist. When I talk to him, he doesn't exist. I'm just talking to you guys that, frankly.
But you have your knowledge, you can still use that in your guidance per se with the buyer.
No, my advice is gonna be purely based on what I know about you, what you're comfortable with, what your financial situation is, he might be pre-approved for 25,000 more. You're looking at the top of your budget, he's being a little conservative. I know he's got more wiggle room. And my advice is gonna be what my advice is, you know what I mean? He's willing to pull out all the stuff. She's made that clear in my consultation. You're like, not paying over asking price, I want a full inspection, I want a home warranty, and I'll give you the same advice I'd give you again if you were the only client I was working with. And I can rest easy at night. My client may be PO. That's their problem. The 3 L's of MREA. Again, leads. Why is the leads on the bottom?
Foundation.
Yep. As the book says, without leads, we don't have a business. It doesn't matter what kind of leads, investor leads, seller leads, buyer leads. Then as we get going, we start curving into, we're trying to focus on listings. Again, better ROI like we talked about before. Leverage, now we're hiring a transaction coordinator, maybe we're hiring a buyer's agent, we're doing all these things. We're taking certain things off our plate. That's when you start building a really big business. You start with an admin, so again, a transaction coordinator, and I always equate it more to like an executive assistant role. Because you probably don't have enough deals where a TC is gonna be a full-time gig, but somebody managing your calendar. And then just doing maybe your social media ads for you. Odds and ends that clog up your day. The idea is you can focus on just going on it. So if you really build it the right way. So that's why that's there at the bottom like that. So the virtues of a seller listing. This is on page 15.4. So seller listings mean marketing opportunities. This is your chance. Social media, your sign in the yard, if it's the right listing, if you get a nice listing on a lake, there's tons of lake magazines, maybe buy ad space there. We got signs on the dock. You can do so many different things. This is the marketing opportunity for you. Inside of Command, if you got multiple listings, you can actually do an ad that features multiple listings. What that makes you look like is a listing expert. I need to talk to him or her because they got all the listings. They know the market really well. A lot of people trust them. You have more control of your time. Again, more ROI. You don't have to go show the listing if you don't want to. You could refer all your buyer leads that come in through your marketing to a buyer's agent on your team or at the office. You know you're getting 3% or whatever your commission is on the sell side. If you don't have time to handle those buyers, you still know you got that commission coming in. So it gives you so much more control over your time. Again, we already talked about this numerous times. Maximize your per hour compensation. Volume. You can, statistically speaking, and there's no doubt about this, you can sell more listings than you can sell more buyers. Each buyer, take an hour or two to go see a house. By the time you drive, you plan, you show, you drive back, there's an hour or two. There's only so many buyers in a day that you can service, and so many in a week. You really, in theory, have an unlimited amount of sellers that you can service in a week, because once the sign's on the yard, you're good to go. Again, you can refer out every single buyer, because you know somebody's gonna bring you an offer. So you can just do more deals. What do you think this one means? With seller listings, you are on the front end of pricing.
You pay for the commissions that are removed.
But we're doing like the price of the house.
More,
You can maximize the commission.
you have more of an idea of what you're gonna do.
But is listing it for way up high, always the best bet. So what this means, at least to me, the way I look at this is, you get to be in control of the pricing in the market. Then if you price it too high, you're gonna sit out there for a while. Typically, and unfortunately, we're finding this out with years. After about 21 days on the market, showings get pretty scarce. And after about 30 days later, so about the day 60 mark, we get a new set of buyers that come into the market. And now showings pick up for a little bit. And off we go, but that's 2 months, and now we're on a hope and a prayer. If you price it right, and this is what it means by being on the front of the price it aggressive, price it to move. You're gonna do your seller the best bet.
Is there a circumstance where you would want, so I guess in my mind, when you say day 60. In my mind, we would have lowered the price several times. So at some point, you think you would have lowered it to where it wouldn't really
Sure.
reach day 60.
You should.
Someone should buy it because you've lowered it.
And that comes down to, when we get here in a little bit, to the listing appointment. If the seller won't come down to the price you're recommending, try to work out, hey, we're gonna adjust the price here and here. Day 14 and day 28, or whatever it is. Until we get to the price that we recommend.
So
Not every seller will agree to that.
it'd be this, if it gets to day 60, that's on the seller, because he won't come lower essentially.
Usually, yeah. Now, as Desmond did Scott's open house at that 1 point something million lake listing.
Wow.
He did an awesome video. I don't know if you saw the video that he did.
Desmond?
Mhm.
No, I didn't see.
That's just, your buyer pool is like 12. I mean, it's like, if not, those 12 people don't want it. It's not saying the pricing on that one's wrong, it's just none of those 12 people want it.
Okay.
If you're in the $200,000 range and you're not selling, there's something wrong, because those are still getting multiple offers, those are still moving quick. And I mean, you just got a listing, by the way, congratulations. When we're talking, leading into that meeting on Saturday. Yeah, man, if they priced at 170, we're probably gonna be sitting there for a while, so we got them at 150. We thought about maybe even as low as 140, but something in that meeting, you said 150.
I personally think 140.
But we're close, we're in that,
Yeah.
what I truly believe in, and this is kind of business school 101, is what's called threshold pricing. When you go shopping online, you're generally gonna say, I'm looking for a new thing, whatever it is, new purse, new shirt, new jacket, you set a price range, $25 to $50. That's how people look at houses. We're under that 150. If we got up over that, all those 125 to 150 buyers are gonna miss it. So the fact we're gonna price it 150 on the nose, those 125 to 150 people will see it, but here's what's nice. The 150 to 175 or the 150 to 200 people will also see it. You price it 149.9, the second group's not seeing it. This was a training we had, and this was like 2018. And the trainer talked about that, and it's like, you always think, hey, let's do 149.9, it sounds cheaper. But when they brought that up, price it right on the nose of the threshold price. Now you get both sides, not just one side, you know that. Pretty smart. So I like that we're pricing that, because we were kind of straddling that threshold, right? Because people look in usually even amounts, 100 to 150, 125 to 150. Being right at 150, we got this as opposed to this. Properly marketed seller listings bring you more business. Ads work. who cares? Let's say that's the house that I don't care about selling only that. Use it as a mechanism to meet people and sell them something. Goes back to the beginning of the session, why I don't put sold and pending signs. Call me about that, that one's under contract, let me go sell you something else. James Reeser, and I wish he was here, because I wouldn't want him to talk about this, but he looks at every listing opportunity as at 5 deals in 2 years. We're selling the listing, no doubt, got that. Hopefully we get the buy side, there's 2. Pick somebody up at the open house, 3. Referral from those clients, 4. And then through the marketing, just in mass is another deal. So maybe it's a down the road, it's a selling thing. So his goal is to get 5 deals in 2 years from every single listing. Generally, you'll hear 3. We're gonna sell the listing. If we pick up the buyer, great. And then we want to sell something to somebody that came through the open house or clicked on the ad. But either way, a buyer's buying one unless it's an investor. And if it's an investor, they're buying smaller price properties usually anyway. So every buyer is one, every seller has the opportunity to be at least 2. If we double dip it. Again, volume, got a chance for a lot more volume. Any questions on this? So I think this is a great, just summary of why sellers are on that triangle, listings are on that opportunity.
So with the house, I'm gonna be listed for 150. I didn't know if, because I really think 150 probably isn't gonna be the best, but he was basing his, after I gave him the range of, 140, 160. And then I walked him through some of the comps and they used all that knowledge to come up with 150. But there's still stuff that needs, a lot of cosmetics that need, new flooring, paint, stuff like that, like the floorings tore up, carpets, it needs a paint job. Trims busted up, so like whoever buys it, they're gonna have to put money into it.
Mhm.
And so it's like, how do you get, they're basing their price on, they wanna have an X amount of net. They wanna have like 50 grand net after everything.
Mhm.
And then, so when we were going through the numbers, that 150 is where they had to have it to get what they wanted to net.
Mhm.
How do you talk people down on their net if you know it'll sell at a lower price? Versus selling at that 150.
I mean, I think you handled it right. I mean, we're close enough to just go in at the 150. Now we know what you're telling me is we already know what our feedback's gonna be. She brings a buyer through. 50 is pretty steep with this and that. Your call to her should be from that feedback. Hey, thanks for the feedback, maybe write us an offer at the 150 mark, but ask for flooring and a paint allowance, and I'll see what I can do with the seller. Now you take that to them, be like, hey, your net may be less. But
So instead of trying to talk the seller down, use the feedback.
in the
that they want.
beginning,
Use like an offer to kind of show,
Right.
okay.
so now at about day 10, what I would do is set up meeting 2. By then, and I can show you how to do this, in the MLS, we can see how many views, how many times it's been sent out, how many agents, how many clients it's seen. Zillow, Realtor, you can see all that. All the feedback from your showings. And make sure you guys, when you have a listing, Showing Time automatically sends out a feedback request. Not a lot of agents fill them out. Please be the agents that fill them out. Be honest, don't be mean, but don't be afraid to be honest, because it is a useful tool. So as you're having these showings, if you're not getting feedback about 24 hours after showing, call the agent. Hey, any constructive criticism or constructive feedback that I can provide this. Start making kind of a report. And at day 10, let's sit down with them or get on the phone with them. Don't send that report until you're on the phone. Ideally, have this meeting face to face. Don't send anything out. Control the message. So sit down with your seller and just be like, hey, just wanted to kind of recap where we're at, because obviously we haven't accepted an offer yet. So we've had this many views, this many saves, this many this many that, and here's been our feedback just by and large. And here's my recommendation. We really need to go down to that 140 price. So it's just all about price and condition. And then you just tailor that. We're getting the eyeballs, we're getting the saves, people have seen it, but no offers. At this price point, we should be flying out of the market. So it's coming down to price and condition. And you gotta be delicate, that's a delicate conversation, because you don't want them to feel bad about whatever it is. We're working on one now, somebody in coaching their clients. They get why the people are asking for the repairs. They just don't have the money. So it's like a very delicate conversation of like, to get this to the closing table, I think we're supposed to close in 12 days. That's money.
That'll be this guy. They don't have the money to make repairs, so they'd have to come down in price,
Yeah,
which kind of brought me to a question when it comes to appraisal. Just going down in price doesn't help. If they don't have the money to fix it, does that just mean it doesn't happen?
I mean, we can get with the buyer and be like, man, if we come down to this, like, can you guys do the repairs? Now you get it, like, you're not supposed to have the buyers do the repairs, but they want it bad enough, a lot of times they'll do it. But we'll cross that bridge when we
Yeah.
get there.
As far like it both, what was it, Home Stretch, is that the company that came? Can you, so like say your seller, they don't have any capital until the house is sold, but they're like, I wanna fix it. Can you, hire someone like Home Stretch and then put it in the closing costs?
You'd have to talk to each contractor. There's quite a few that will, or they may want a sizable down, and then they'll get the balance at closing. But there's a lot of roofers, like Raver Roofing, a lot of times will roll the dice on house closing things.
So essentially like their, invoice goes in, you can give it to the title company and then they send it, is that how that would work? They would send a check to Home Stretch or whoever you have.
So, but then you get into like the lenders may have an issue because they know there's issues with that, like it gets into, we can do it without it getting on the closing statement, but if we have to, we will. Lenders sometimes can get a little leery when they see a lot of big dollar repair items on the bill. Because remember, they see the Alta statement. It's that final statement that those numbers would be on, the lender has to see that.
So actually with that exact scenario, that I sold my house, I'm actually now, since I've been through the experience, leaning towards trying not to do it that way. Because the fact that I was able to handle everything outside of the title company after it closed, and I still paid for the things that get it fixed, I earned the trust of that person who's gonna refer me.
But I can't fix anything, so I would be absolutely.
Well, no, I
No,
didn't.
he
fix it.
hired a company.
I hired the people.
Or, but did you like fix like some railing and the.
Well,
windows
that
and
I-
stuff? I'm
but
not doing
On
that.
the
But
contract,
even if you hired the contractor, but that takes a lot of trust.
on the contract side of things, there was like 5 or 6 things contractually that had to be done before the lender would do anything about it. But when it went to title company, I had the thought of letting them take care of everything, but then it made a bunch of complications with the lender.
Cause there's big stuff, I mean, it was like roof.
There was furnace and roof stuff, and so there was stuff. So basically, we still closed. And they trusted me to handle it outside of closing. And since I did that, I earned her trust, and now she's referring me to places. So I'm kind of thinking, the more I could do that, I can earn people's trust more instead of just letting the title company handle it. It's less messy with the title company, and I got a referral out of it.
Yeah.
So if after closing, you call the contractors and have them all, it's still in the contract, so they're still comfortable. Cause it's in the contract,
Mhm.
so you just call the people to take care of it after closing.
And I got one I closed last,
Excuse me?
Why after vote?
Because when I was trying to have the title company do it at closing, the lenders started freaking out about all the stuff that was wrong. And so we basically scrapped it, and then they just closed and they trusted me to take care of it after.
so, and the money is not available.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what I was, I'm sorry.
Exactly, so,
We close, I get the money, I'll fix it.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And I closed on one last Thursday, and tomorrow the windows are being done for the same reason, so I have the buyers. Sellers are like, I mean, the windows are like $9,000. We don't have it until we close, so we have a contract outside of the paper, it's just. We did an addendum to the purchase agreement since we found it in the inspection. But it just said, hey, the windows will be installed post-closing, seller to, take care of all expenses. So they might get in there. Wood's rotted around, so now we got to cut out some wood and reframe, who knows what's gonna go on. Same thing with the roof, I mean, they might get there and like 9 sheets of plywood are bad and we got to pop them all up. And redo it, it could be an extra few $100.
I just wanna reach out, and I wouldn't let you. She's having marital, problems, but outside of that, she had a concern about basic.
Mhm.
And like, where do you want to go with that?
With her base,
Yep,
have a structural engineer go out. take a look at it. She just had that on her listing over by New Haven.
Yeah, I
That's
did
right.
the open house on that and
Yeah.
I thought her.
Yeah, but I mean, if we know there's gonna be a potential issue or a red flag, like, would you rather it come up after we're under contract, everybody's hopes are high? Or get somebody out there and do a full evaluation and you know what the repairs are gonna be, so you can either price it accordingly, because you got the quote. I showed a house yesterday, needed all new carpet downstairs, and people didn't have the money, they're like, they won't take FHA because there's no flooring in any of the bedrooms. So all government backed loans,
There's no flooring?
they took up all the carpet, they don't have the money, so I don't know if they have animals gonna, it's weird that they tore it out. So there might, either they smoked in the house, or there's cat smell or something. But FHA, VA, USDA requires there's flooring in every room. And it's just down to the subfloor in these bedrooms, so you gotta do cash and convention. But they'll give us the money after closing to do the floor. Or we can negotiate the price down and I take care of picking out my own floor, you know what I mean, and paying for it out. So again, it depends on my financial situation there. But on that one, yeah, I tell her, $400, maybe $400. Have somebody come out, do a full written report, do not call basement doctors, do not call any of these people, because nothing against them, they probably do fine work, but their job is to convince you it needs work done.
The sellers.
Exactly, I mean, the structural engineer, once that report's done, they're out of the game, they don't care if you spend $30,000 doing work, they got their money by writing the report up. Same thing with home inspectors, right, they don't care if you got paid 10,000 in repairs. This where some people do have an issue with aardvark, it's like, there's mold, well, there are also mold remediation. So are they finding mold to say you gotta give us a few hundred extra dollars? I don't believe they do that, but I've had some clients like, a little weird, isn't it? Like they take care of pests, they take care of mold, it's like, if I own a company, I'd wanna do it all too. Why not make all the money? But it can look a little suspicious when you're the person looking at the problem, saying there's a problem, and then you fix the problem. So that's why like Matt Helpy's my go-to guy. He's a structural engineer, come out, and he has a very reasonable, so I sold a house on Reed Street down on the 06. House 75, 80 years old. Before he walked in with my buyer, he's like, look, this house is how many ever years old? It's not gonna be perfect. He's like, I'm gonna see some stuff that's probably wonky. But that doesn't mean it. Walk down there, he's like, that's normal for the age house, and it's this and that, and here's what you could do over here, just to tidy it up a little bit, shore it up, and structurally. And he walked the whole house, wrote a report, $300, my guy felt good. So somebody like that, to do that, you put those documents in the listing. Hey, we have a structural engineer, it shows you got out ahead of the game. The good buyer's agent will print that out and take it with them to the showing. So when that buyer sees something like, hey, you may see this in the basement, they've already had it. That's not saying the buyer can't bring their own personnel. But a good structural engineer, they're not that expensive and they can save a lot of time. Because basement repairs are not cheap. Emmanuel at one point in time, he was one of our agents that specializes in investors. They had to rebuild a wall in the basement. One wall, $62,000.
62,000?
They took out a wall of a house, like under a house. I mean, you got sure.
I was gonna say like 10 grand. 62,000 for a wall.
They had to jack the house up,
Yeah,
to support it, take a jackhammer all the concrete out, and you gotta be really careful of the corners. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it spreads, spiders out.
so
So now you're cutting out, and then you gotta bring concrete down to a basement. That's not easy.
So-
There is nothing easy about it.
do you know with doing that, if you were to do that, do you have to match how the basement was built? So if the basement was built on brick, on like blocks
would.
instead
I
of pour,
I would do pour concrete.
so they don't have to match it, they can pour it?
Don't, I would want it more shirt up in. This way I look at block basements and brick basements, again, I understand now is the standard of whatever era. Every mortar joint is a spot water can get in. So as the house shifts, little chunks of mortar might fall out between those blocks and those bricks. That's little spots of water can come in. Concrete wall. doesn't have that same issue. And on the concrete wall, you can, I forget what that stuff's called, but it's basically like black tar. So you can dig out on the outside and seal it up from the outside. That's what all new builders do. I forget what the material is called. But essentially, if you look at it, and if you look at new builds, you might see little coming up from the dirt where it looks like they painted the concrete black. That's the waterproof. Not much better. That's a very manual. There is no easy way to do the job, which is why it's so expensive. And again, one wall.
Mhm.
Then you fix the roof, you're on top, like, you're not worrying about a whole house coming down on top of your head, you know?
Do you know what that process, do people have to be out of the house while they're doing it?
Oh, for sure. And that house was vacant, so, but I
Okay.
don't know, would you wanna be in a house?
So that's what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
someone have to go live somewhere for a week while it.
I'm sure it's at least a week. I mean, I'm sure you can be there, but it's probably dusty, gross,
Yeah.
smells. Yeah, I wouldn't trust the house not to fall.
Yeah.
Alright, so here, we're on the next page, 15.5, I believe, yeah, 15.5. Seller service cycle. So one, leads conversion, pretty self-explanatory. We're not generating leads, we're not following up with leads, and we're not bold enough to ask for the appointment. You're the perfect example. First call you had was for a potential listing, right? And we talk and like say this and that, and you're like, "Huh, I already did that. Fake it till you make it, right? You're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I asked for the meeting. And then she called me, she's like, well, I got a listing for you. All right, let's do this. Fake it till you make it. Be bold enough to ask for the appointment. They're not gonna beg you to come to their house. What Bo was saying at Bowl this past week. Will a random uncle call you and say, hey, I know you're in real estate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for sure, but that's not how you build a business. That call is not gonna happen with frequency, and you're not in control. Generate leads. Always follow ups until they buy, or they tell you to kick it. Keep following up, and then be bold enough when the opportunity is there, or even if it's not there, to ask for the appointment. Now I get to the pre-listing preparation. Some people will send out a pre-listing questionnaire. That's some of the questions you want to know going in, and some people ask for it to come back beforehand. Some people will just be like, hey, when we get there, on whatever day our appointment is, just have that ready, and that'll be kind of your guiding post. Think of it like when you go to the doctor's office, they have you fill out the questionnaire, like what are you feeling, what symptoms and all that. This is that same kind of concept. Then the doctor comes in, they're reading it, they don't have to ask you the questions. So same things. Why are you moving? What are you looking to buy? What's your time frame? What's your price point? Do you have a price in mind for the house you're selling? So there's some really good ones in designs. Now we get to 3. This is a listing consultation. This is us at the actual house, meeting with the clients. The way I like to handle these, we're walking the house inside and out. Let's get a full scope before we even sit down and have a conversation. Let's get a full scope of the condition of the house. From the time you get out of your car, look at the roof, look at all around the windows. Do a tour of the inside of the house and outside of the house, and make honest notes for yourself. The good, the bad, the other. Then we sit down with the clients. Now we start talking. To me, I always want to get through the price conversation first. Because to me, if we don't agree on the price, nothing else matters. If we're on separate planets for the pricing conversation, who knows? Then at the end of that consultation, what we should have in place, by and large, there's gonna be some exceptions, but by and large, you should have these following things answered. What are we listing the house at? What are they looking to buy? What is the timeline we're working with? So when is a photographer coming? When are we going live on the market? And when are we hosting our first open house? Then we get to number 4, servicing and marketing. What are we gonna do to market this listing? Specifically, what are we gonna do to market you with this listing? And what does servicing the listing say to you guys? Like, what do you take away from that? That's the marketing part, so servicing the listing.
Like
Making the corrections as it ages.
Well, hopefully there's not, but yeah, that'd be part of it. But it's like staying in communication with our clients. What's the next step? How are things going? Here's the feedback from the showings we had today. Those kinds of things. Answering questions in a timely fashion from our clients. I always think of this step, the servicing, whether it's a buyer or servicing the seller. What questions might they have that I can answer before they even think of it? That's just a really good approach because now we're getting ahead of it. We're getting ahead of the game. Offers and negotiations, pretty self-explanatory. So step 5, we're receiving offers and we're negotiating them. When you're reviewing offers, the biggest mistake I see listing agents make is they do not look at every detail of that offer. They'll look at price, and can you close, and all this. One of the big ones that can cause you a big issue is not paying attention on page 1 where the appliances that stay with the house are listed. The biggest one we see the issue with are washer and dryers. So let's say you build the listing, don't include the washer and dryer. Purchase agreement comes in, you don't pay attention to that. That buyer's agent wrote in the washer dryer. Everything on the offer looks great, your client signs in Excel. You just bought your clients a washer and dryer. You did not advise them appropriately. Every checkbox, every blank line, and including that appliance line, the lines right below the financing section are further conditions where they can ask for closing costs. There's an agent here, she's not here any longer, I shared the story before. I think it was either her first deal or second deal. It was my listing, she brought the buyer. I got a call 2 days before closing. I already know the answer, but forgot to ask for closing costs. Just put your seller cover it. I'm like, no. I was like, I'll ask, I can guarantee the answer is no. So she walked away from that deal, and it was not an easy deal to put together with like $300. Because she had to take the whatever it was out of her commission to cover the closing costs. Because it was her mistake. I bought a house full of curtains, so I forgot to write curtains to stay. Just remember, curtain rods stay. Curtains do that.
Because, and I thought it was really weird because it says window treatments, and I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever, like, why would you do
You
that?
gotta write it in.
Oh, I thought-
Blinds are window treatments,
Oh.
curtains are not, because blinds are screwed into the house. Curtains are hanging on something screwed. Again, it's that line of the TV mounts, but not TVs. They're all attached to the wall.
You have to leave TV now.
So is that 100% you have to leave?
And, read the,
So if I wanted, like, when I sold my house, I didn't have anything hanging on the wall for TVs. But if I did, and I took the TV mounts off and took them with me, I could be in trouble for that.
somebody's paying attention.
Yeah.
And if you don't want them to stay, you can put in agent remarks, TV mounts not to stay. But when you get that offer, make sure in the excluded section,
Okay,
TV mounts are good.
I was always.
Most people leave them because now you got bolt size holes, at least 4 of them, if not 6. Now you gotta touch them up, paint it, or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just like. I had a client, like, one of my last closings of the year last year, they just left the TV and the TV mount, cause it was like very custom for like right above that fireplace.
Mhm.
And the house they bought was a downsize, so they're like, really kind of look goofy in our new living room anyway. So we just left the whole shebang, the sound system, like the sound bar, the TV, the mount,
Yeah,
and made those new owners happy. It was a really nice TV, it was like a $7,000 system.
so that brings a question of the house I bought. There was a home theater system put in place. Is that technically, it was screwed into the ceiling, the projector, did that have to stay or could they have taken?
That's not listed in, like, if you wanted it to stay, you'd have to write it in.
Okay, so that would still be
But a
personal
good
property.
listing agent would have excluded that.
So it's
But
still
just make
personal
it clear as
property.
day. Again, make it as clear as day. Again, how we always say, pick a random person on the sidewalk, hand them the entire offer. They should be able to say what stays, what goes, what's the purchase price. It should be that clear. So a good listing agent said this is not included or it's negotiable. So contracts to close. Now we've accepted them. Now we're getting excited. We're getting this deal to finish. There's still a lot of steps. Educate your client through the process. All right, here's what's next for you. The way I always look at this on the buy side, the first 2 weeks of being under contract are busy. The second 2 weeks are kind of boring. For the seller, it's vice versa, because by then the appraisal's done, inspection's done. So now they're boxing stuff up, they're doing the repairs that we've agreed to and things like that. So for the seller, the second 2 weeks are more busy than the first 2 weeks. Then post-close systems, we talked about this numerous times throughout this entire session. Stay in contact with pacifiers. It's a great place for pacifiers. We've gone over the stats numerous times. So much of our business is from our sphere and pacifiers. So many agents, once they get that commission check, they never check in, they never talk. Going over, even though it wasn't Josh's plan, just going over there to help. Got a referral, or it's going to be getting, but check in, a few days after you know they moved in, are they getting settled in? Send a home anniversary card, send holiday cards, try to do a monthly newsletter or something. Find out their birthday, send out a birthday card if you want. Are you doing a closing gift? This is how you stay top of mind with your clients. And if you think about the lead generation funnel, when it gets to the very bottom, there's that loop that goes all the way back to, and that's saying, once they've closed, we put them back in contacts and we stay in touch. We're cultivating them at, with a few touches a year until they're ready again. But remember that NAR stuff. How many people do not remember the name of their agent after 2 years, let alone want to do business? What does that say about this agent? She might be, it was a she, right? The other agent? She may have been the nicest agent of all time. Must not got that warm fuzzy feeling of this person's wanting her for business to have. Again, we're in the service business, we're in the advisor business. So now we're gonna talk about getting the appointment. Speed to lead, you hear us talk about it all the time. As soon as that lead comes in, you need to be responding. Get valid and complete contact information. So if you get them on the phone, verify the address they put in, if they did put one, put in the email address and all these things. And then determine their motivation to sell, so you can speak to it. This just helps guide the conversation. If they're looking to upsize, downsize, get a second home, an investment home, whatever happens to be. And then this is where most people do 1, 2, and 3 pretty well. It's number 4 where too many people get a little scared. They're not bold enough to ask for the appointment. They do that first 90%, great. They get down to asking for the appointment. And then they lock up. Be bold enough to ask for that. And they registered for a reason. They answered your call and kept you on and gave you these answers for a reason. They're apparently talking. Be bold enough to ask for the appointment and be okay if they say, I'm not quite ready yet. Okay. Well, that's okay if you, I might follow up about every week or so. And just see if there's any questions I could answer and things like that. Would that be okay with you? Or if you feel like maybe every other week, whatever you feel like would be appropriate. Set the expectation for the follow-up, so be okay if they say not right yet. Who's ever sold a house and moved? Yeah,
You never what?
have sold a house and moved. Yeah. Is it fun?
Heck no.
Remember, to us, we live in this world every day. But we're not boxing up the house and leaving. We're not leaving behind all those memories at that house, right? There's all these things that we gotta remember. Like, this is an emotional time for some sellers. Or a very busy time because they got so much they gotta do. This is on top of needing to find a new house. And that's stressful. So keep in mind those things, those intangibles that we can't really measure, but we know that are there. So you can see this is about equally divided as can be.
Is that another packet?
Should be.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was looking for the pie chart. That's
Oh,
in there.
there's. You guys get to read it. But price the home competitively, we've talked about that. Help seller market home to potential buyers. Sell the home in a specific time frame. Help seller find ways to fix up the home. And maximize my value. What tips can you give me? So think about those 4 things that not evenly divided. Again, not rocket science. Hey, James. Build confidence and trust. How can we do that with ourselves? Be honest with them would be a good start. If we disagree with them on price, don't be afraid to have a frank discussion. Don't promise them the world. So there's agents out there that will, and then they start beating them up on the price right away. So promise them, hey, we can sell for here, which is way above everybody else. And after a few days, they just start beating you out, like, hey, we way overpriced, we overpriced, so they overpromise to get the listing. And then they just start beating you out on the price. There's lots of agents that will do that. So being honest is the best start. Another good way to build confidence, don't shy away from the tough conversations. So we're gonna pick on your new listing. We get an offer at $100,000. We took off a third of the price. Is that gonna be a fun conversation with our sellers?
No,
Not at all.
Don't send it in a text. Don't send it in an email. Either get on the phone or meet face to face. And have that tough conversation, but have options for them. Give them honest feedback. That will also build their trust with you. The best thing and worst thing you can hear from a client. What do you think we should do? Or you pick what's best for us. That means you've built up their trust enough that they're just like, here's the keys to the castle. You make all the decisions. But you don't want to do that because if they get mad about something down the road, you don't want them to be able to come back to you, right? Pick on it. But you want to have these frank conversations, give them all the options, but then on top of that, give them the pros and cons of each option. And then my advice would be to do.
And then sometimes being honest, they fire you.
But are those clients that don't want to hear the truth, or those clients you want to work with? It's
Yeah,
not,
you're-
you know what I mean? Cause they're gonna, especially those ones that fired you, I mean, they were buyers, but they
Yeah.
would have been sellers too, but they're having you drive an hour each way.
Yeah. But
That's a lot
yeah,
of
being
driving.
honest though, sometimes they don't wanna hear it and they just.
Exactly, but those are clients, again, this is why we don't put all our eggs in one basket either. Being honest with their clients, if they fire us, it's like, hey, you saved me a lot of time, thank you.
Yeah,
Not disrespectful, it's just like, man, that would have saved me a lot of time.
yeah.
So as we start wrapping this session up here in a few. Again, clients aren't gonna be begging us to do business. They're not gonna be begging us to meet. We gotta be bold enough to ask for the appointment. We gotta show enough value. And then we get to the end of that listing appointment. Now we gotta close them. So show the benefits. It's pretty obvious. We're showing them the benefits of what we're gonna bring to the table. Trial close is another popular one. When should we get started? So about halfway through the meeting, you threw out when should we get started working together to sell your? I haven't heard enough yet. So now you get to go through the rest of your meeting. Assumptive close, when we sell your house. Every time you're talking to your client, buyer or seller, when we go look for houses for you. When we list your house. Tie downs, these are questions to make sure that they're listening. So after you talk for a little bit, ask them a question, make sure that they're paying attention. The other one's the take back close, the negative positive, like talk about something not so good before you put in positive spin. Take back of like, I might not want to work with you kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of those closes. The best ones I've seen are the show the benefits using the assumptive close are probably the two best ones that work with consistency.
So is this something that you try to figure out beforehand? Or
Well,
can you
this is
do, can you
based
use
on
most
your-
of them?
This, you can use most of them. It's based more on your style than anything to do with the client.
Because now that I'm looking at it, when I had my listing appointment with him the other day, I was using several of those.
And you might go through a few, so. Again, I generally just use the when are we getting started with selling your house? When we sell your house, those kinds of. In fact, this is a slide worries me, but this means you gotta say it again. When a question is asked, answer it. When an objection comes up, address it. Too many agents, they shy away from the tough conversation. They're more than happy to have the happy conversations. They get scared of the tough conversations. It's not good. This is when we have the best relationship with our clients, when we can be open and honest with them. Right, Ben?
Right,
Cool.
300% what you said.
Being open and honest with our clients, how we build up the best rapport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Tony dogs. Is there anybody who's gonna say no to a Tony dog? Okay, I'll be right back.
We got the baseball jersey on for the Coney dogs. I like it.
I'm gone.
Jackie Robinson Day.
What's that?
That was Jackie Robinson Day today, isn't it?
Jackie Robinson,
Yeah.
Like a national Jackie Robinson Day?
I didn't baseball, they.
Everybody wears number 42.
Did not know.
It's very confusing when you're watching the game now.
What's that?
It's very confusing watching the game.
Yeah.
Literally in the game, everybody was 42?
No names on the back of the jersey, just 42.
That's funny.
But also
That's
42
insane.
retired from every team, nobody's more than 42 anymore.
So
Just
it's-
figure out.
That's hilarious.
And Mariano Rivera was the last one to have it on his jersey.
But
I guess-
he had to get signed thing from the Jackie Robinson family, I think.
Yeah.
I guess during that game is when you'll know who the real fans are,
Right.
without having the numbers on their jersey.
I'll be back, but get everybody at least half a copy of.
Sounds good, sounds good. So, but being open and honest, again, this is where we earn our keep. This is where we earn our money. Being open and honest, talking about the tough stuff, but having solutions to the tough stuff. What's your aha so far? Hopefully that, at least listening to the best are alive.
So the conversation part, that's, I found is easier just to just dive right into it. So, like, I know this, I know like all this part, I had a fire, out of town. Did I talk about? All right, so, their daughter, danced at the ballet. And I think the listing had two and a half, with 2.5 on the buyer side, and I actually asked that happens to me. And I just went straight in and asked for it, he was like, oh, he was like, you not real quick, he was like, yeah, I don't see no problem with that. But just, that was a hard conversation to have, to be honest, I was like, what is that?
And it's gonna be a conversation we're gonna be having more and more as the year goes on, right? Everything going on.
I was like, man, I was sweating bullets, nothing.
But the answer is no if you didn't answer it, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and some of the takeaways for me is just the earning their trust. Getting their trust earned. You mentioned you like to have the price conversation up front, or like the, commission and all that stuff, or price or something. So when I was doing my listing, again, I wasn't very structured. I hit everything I needed to hit, but it was, wasn't structured. It was just go with the flow and, talk about things when it came up. And so commission and price and all that kind of came up later on. But I feel like maybe I earned their trust enough to where they did ask about the whole new NAR thing and asked me to reduce my price and all that stuff. And I got them to still go with the 6%.
Well, how did they approach the NAR thing?
So they were just asking me if I charge 6% or if I cut it down to 3%. And I just explained kind of what I was told, that it's always been negotiable. And then now it's the same way. It's just if I cut it down to 3% now and you ask your buyer's agent to, or the buyers to pay for their own agent, I said, in a marketing standpoint, you're gonna cut your eyeballs on the property in half. Because a lot of those people aren't gonna be able to afford to pay their agent. And so explaining to them the marketing side of things, they came around to it and they'll still pay the 6%. And I didn't have to cut it, because they asked after that if I'd lower my commission.
Right.
And they asked me kind of point blank why I deserved my commission, and I told them that I think I work harder than most any other agent around here. Like, I'll go and knock on doors for people and ask for other buyers, hey, do you want to sell your house? Stuff like that. So I just told them I work hard.
Were they being mean about any of these conversations?
No, they weren't.
Exactly.
They-
That's on most clients, so we're scared of the conversations, a lot of us, especially in the beginning. But they weren't being, they're inquiring, I mean, that's a lot of money that they're investing to sell their house. If any of us are gonna spend any kind of money like that, we should be asking these questions.
But I feel like maybe where it came up in the conversation, I earned their trust at the beginning enough.
Yeah.
To where they trusted me when I told them, hey, this is what it is, and 6%, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, and again, we do have to go with the flow. I like to have a structure going in, but we also have to be able to deviate. Cause if we cut our clients off, they go, we're not ready for that conversation yet. We need to stick to my plan. Sometimes that'll turn them off, right? And you've already lost them. So that's perfectly fine, but you should have a pretty good roadmap going into the meeting on how we're gonna do things.
Yeah, I met with our work last week, the person who works up there. And she did a presentation, you know, promoting their services, and I just was like, oh, that is so organized. So nice. Maybe in a month. No, but it was like, it was a script, like she really had it out, well, this paper on this paper on this paper, so then you're not rambling. And you don't forget to cover commission, you know, it don't have to be the first page, but you have enough presentation here, we offer this, we offer this, we offer this. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I get paid, oh, and then I do this, and I do this. And it was just so organized.
Mine wasn't organized.
I mean, I know, that's why I said maybe in a month, because it's gonna take some time to get to the organized part. But I feel like that's something that will be very beneficial to the business as far as, and yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly, it
Just
should
presenting
be,
it from client to client, you know?
and this is why I always recommend on these presentations. Because each of you are gonna approach it different. Think about if you were your own client, what would you wanna bring to the table? And what would you, because again, you're the one presenting it, so think about yourself as the client. And I always tell people, have one ready to go. You get a call for a buyer or a seller they want to meet today, you should have a presentation where you can just go hit print. No time to customize it, no. We can print and we can be ready. So think about it in that fashion. But if we got a preparation of like 4 days, we should be customizing that presentation for that person. And we can just take that core presentation and add to it. And that's actually a perfect segue into this. So we're talking about pre-listing packet and listing appointments next. And again, this gets the purposeful approach. Hopefully it doesn't take you a month to put together that presentation, because we don't know when our next call is coming in. Again, inside of command and designs, there's listing and buyer presentations ready to go. Each of them have, 50 or 60 pages. You can pull them out, customize those specific pages, be ready to go in 10 minutes if you want to.
So I was looking at those this morning, actually. Is that, when I looked at the one for the listing presentation, it was 26 pages. Is that something that I go through and plug information in myself, or is there a way that I
Or
can?
take pages out if you want.
Is there a way that I can, when I choose to do that, that all the information from my seller can be plugged into it? Or do I have to go in and, cause what they show,
Customize it for each one,
so I have to go manually change the,
at least on the front page.
There is a feature on there that you can tie in whatever you're selling and like pictures and all that will pop up.
Oh, really? I have not seen it, okay.
cause I was looking at like, man, I gotta go through, I gotta go through 26 pages, delete stuff, add stuff, it's like, this is gonna take forever.
Talk to Mal, she may know how to do that. I didn't realize that feature is in there now, so that's great. So it does save a lot of time. There you go, makes it even simpler. But again, having the purposeful approach, don't just wing it.
I mean,
I'm just kidding, but if you have a purposeful approach. Yeah.
I would say I'm half.
Just now starting with courthouse and now we're like.
Right, but even that should have a pretty structured approach to it. So it may come out of the blue more often than the selling side, or be like, hey, let's go see a house today. But there should still be this purposeful approach. You should know, again, if you really sit down and whiteboard it, like, okay, we start the pre-approval conversation, are we pre-approved? Great, we are. What can we afford? What are we looking for? What's important? What does the house have to have? Things like that. Like that should be a very structured approach.
Okay, and then what if the answer is no, pre-approval, like?
Then you send it, then the conversation's done. Here's the lenders, give them a call. Always spin it into what's in it for them. So you're my potential buyer, you call me. Let's say you call me off my sign, right? That's gonna be my first question. Well, actually, my first question would probably be like, what about the house caught your eye? And we have that conversation. Just out of curiosity, have you talked to a lender yet to get pre-approved? No, I haven't yet. Well, hey, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send you 2 lenders and then talk to the bank that you currently bank at. And work on getting your pre-approval letter. And once you have that, we'll set up a time to go see the home. Because if you're not pre-approved, you don't know what you're gonna be pre-approved for. You may have an idea, but you could be way off, over, or under. So pre-list and packet. And not everybody uses them. They are a great idea because they do save time, as it says in step 2. But 1 and 3 is the second and third approach. You're building confidence before you even walk in the door. And you're able to state your value proposition before you walk in. Now, when you get in the door, you get to just further those things. Make them feel even better about you. Again, sometimes time is not where this is able to be done. And the questions you want to ask, why are we selling? Do we have a price in mind? Where are we moving to? What's our time frame? Things like that. And inside that, you should be asking about the pre-approval as well. Now, when you walk into the meeting, you got a lot of information. 100%, you should review it in the listing presentation. Again, think about it as the doctor's office. You fill out that questionnaire ahead of time, you get into the examination room. That's the first thing they go over with you, just to verify those answers. It does not eliminate the need for the listing consultation. Nothing should replace the face-to-face meeting. But it does prime the information you get from the listing consultation. Because you already got some of these odds and ends already answered, you can get into deeper conversations and get further along and streamline your listing presentation. So pre-listing packet, think about how you're gonna deliver it. Are you gonna email it? Are you gonna mail it now? Are you gonna drop it off by hand? Inside of that, don't be afraid, like in preparation for our listing appointments on level, like put the date and time there. And the location. This is a big one people miss. Ensure all decision makers are there. If there's a husband and wife on the deed, husband and wife should be at the meeting, not just one. Complete and practice your listing presentation. So while they're filling that out, after you send that, before you get to the house, go through script and role play, write out, I like to write out a bullet pointed roadmap of how I want the meeting to go. Even though I've done these a lot, I still want that roadmap, just say, like, if we get off task or something throws me for a loop, I want something that brings me back to that spot. Review the lead sheet, so again, confirm phone numbers, emails and things like that, and arrive in a professional manner. Dress professional, show up on time. Have some leave behind, so have like a nice presentation folder if you're able. At the end of the meeting, leave everything there behind. I like to have a letterhead that writes, that has, well, handwrite the summary of everything. Timeline, any homework the seller has to do, like clean this room, paint this room, do these kinds of things. And all the key dates. And then I have it branded, logos, phone number, my headshot, everything. That's the page they may pull out and put on the fridge. That's why I want it to be branded. I want that logo to be seen all the time, my phone number to be seen, my headshot to be seen. But out of all that paper in that folder, that's a great summary that you can put up.
You said you like to handwrite the thing that you leave, but you mentioned the things that have to clean, do things like that. Does that mean you're writing that as you're at the presentation?
Because-
To add the add-ons, then you scan that piece that you handwrite.
For myself.
So you handwrite it and then type it up?
No, I don't type it out. Because I don't know these things necessarily going into the listing appointment. So once we're at the listing appointment, the timeline becomes evident. I might even put down the price we agreed on. The stuff they need to do, I won't know ahead of time either. So again, when I get to my listing appointment, we do the tour of the house inside and out. By the end of that, I know the things I'm gonna recommend they do. But by the time we're done talking about the price, the timeline, and the things they're willing to do, that's what I'm gonna write on that paper. Because that's the stuff we have agreed to.
And you're just doing it like notes as you're talking?
And my chicken scratch, but when I write the leave behind piece on it. It's my time. It's my handwriting for it. So I have to like really think about it. Alright, so now we're at the listing appointment. Again, create a great impression. Be personable, get to know them. Don't just necessarily talk to them as soon as you walk in the door. And if you're doing that walk around the house, you see something, a picture or trinket or something, make conversation with them, get to know them at a deeper level besides, hey, I'm just gonna sell your house. We've done the walk around, we've done all this. Number 2, share your price recommendation. I always like to ask them first, what are they thinking? Then I get to see, are we pretty close or are we far apart? Then we dive into that. And we're gonna create a price. Now we're gonna set the expectations for how you're gonna market and work with the sellers. So what's our marketing plan? What's the timeline? What are the steps from here? All of this is gonna start building the confidence that you know what you're doing. No matter the condition of the house, I'm always gonna recommend hire a professional photographer. Even if it's $100,000 needs gutted, they can make the pictures look about as good as they're gonna go. But here's like a little affirmation. And you gotta say this before you go to an appointment with buyer or seller. So if we prepare in depth, this is very true. We do the homework ahead of time. We know the market. We know what's going on in that area, because again, you might not know the area that you're going to the listing appointment for. That doesn't mean you not knowing the. Do your homework and study. So opportunities, again, we've talked about this all the way back in the lead generation and lead follow-up. As soon as you talk to somebody, you should create an opportunity for them. It helps manage your pipeline. You don't have to go all the way through the end of DocuSign as of yet, but put them in as a buyer, seller, or both. That way, when you get ready for the paperwork part, you can go in there, update the status that they're in, and get the paperwork going. So the listing walkthrough, I want to make sure there's no questions. We've talked about it numerous times.
They're here.
All right, very good, thank you. It's not hard, but you gotta be honest. You're looking at it with a fresh set of eyes that maybe they've not thought about. I walked into a house yesterday, we were in there for about 30 seconds, the smoke smells so strong. I was like, I can't even like stand in this house. There's a house I was showing. I was like, you could taste it. But that was a conversation maybe that agent had with that seller, maybe not. It's not a fun conversation to have, but they're so used to the smell, they don't smell it.
I was about to say, when you hear smoke.
Don't smoke in your house.
I mean, no, I'm saying like, so with me being a smoker and going in another smoker's house, like, what if I can't really, you know?
Your clients
that
will,
smell
though.
doesn't bother-
But your client, it's all about your client.
Okay.
Cause that's not a cheap fix. You know, cause you gotta rent ozone machines, maybe scrub the walls, carpet clean, get rid of carpet. I mean, just cause you can't smell it doesn't mean it's not that exciting. I've had where they're like, literally like squeegeeing tar off walls,
Oh my.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah. Usually if you don't smell it, you can at least see on the wall.
I'll
Yeah.
picture that in your lungs.
Maybe you should stop smoking.
Man, I've tried at least 10 times. We'll get there one day.
Yeah.
Maybe when my kids get out the house.
So the stress goes from here to here.
Yes, I'll quit for like.
That's a long time.
It is, and then as soon as, this is the first place I'm going to the gas station. Every time. I'm like, that's a cigarette.
So my question is, like, if we go walk through, let's say we find that, you know, like the selling is a fixed thing, or, you know, like staging, how do you give them like a responsibility or a willingness to fix all those things, like how do you advise them? For me, like, when I look at those, like, I want to do it myself, like.
But we can't do everything, right? So you can have people you refer them to, like contractors and things like that. But you gotta have that conversation with them, like, are they willing to take that on? You know what I mean? So, and it's, if they're not, that's fine, then we gotta have a price discussion. If we're not gonna fix them, we can't be here, we gotta be here on this. But you can't, one, for liability reasons, you don't wanna be the one doing the work.
Do you ever, as a real estate agent, use your own money or your potential, commission to fix something that you know will bring more in return?
I know agents that do, I will not. So that's, to me, that's just a recipe to get burned.
And then they tell their friend, he's awesome, he'll pay for work, to get done, and we'll dig in his own pocket. And
And then when you know.
you heard me say before, what other professional have you gone to where the attorney or the chiropractor or the accountant or whatever said, you know what, I'll pay for that. I'll dig in my pocket. It's not a normal practice. We want to do it. We think, oh my gosh, we're desperate. I've got to do this. No one else does.
I guess I'm thinking more of, Now on my side, investment purpose, like in investments, like if I know I can get 10 grand more out of this house, but I only put 2 grand in to fix the bathroom or something. It's like, I can get more commission if I just,
Somebody in coaching, her and I got into it, and I mean, she luckily got her money back, but she put out about 8 grand. And,
If it doesn't sell,
yeah, cause there's no guarantee that 2 grand will get 10 grand.
you're right.
You know what I mean? So what you think so to me, it's opening up way too much liability. And they gotta be invested in their own success. And if they can't afford it, that's fine. Well, let's price it accordingly. Or again, check post closing, like they want to give them the 2 grand that'll get, work out an allowance that they can pay post closing, because if they need to sell to get, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But to me, if you're gonna do that, just adjust the price accordingly.
why don't they have a friend or family member if you and I are confident in doing this work or putting in the money, why don't they have an aunt, an uncle, friend or neighbor that's willing to contribute something? That should tell us something too, if they would come up with any other resource that's
I didn't think about that way. They out there asking family and they're like, if they don't trust them. Don't forego like the handwritten card, like, cause again, we get to the end of the appointment, they may not be ready to commit, or maybe they did and we're still a ways away. Drop in a handwritten card that same day. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. Well, about 3, 4, 5 days later, that pop up in the mail. Just a nice little touch. It's like busting a buck, right? For everything. So listing agreement, again, this will all be done in DocuSign. The listing agreement and the MLS, I always say, are just the suggestion. What's on the purchase agreement is what's written in stone. But write the listing agreement as the client is comfortable, what's staying, what's going, possession, what financing is approved. It should be, again, clear as day. Anybody on the street you hand it to should understand what this listing is going to be. Everything is signed by all parties. Remember, before 1978, they gotta have a lead-based paint. Sales disclosure. Tell them to answer it as honestly as possible. There's an answer for literally everything. If they don't know, there's a do not. If it's not included, there's not. If it's defective, mark it honest. The truth will come out at some. That one, a lot of times I'll take when I sit down with them, and I'll leave behind. And I'll pick it up a couple days later. So that sometimes people, it's easier for them to fill out by hand, and then I can just scan it in. But that's up to you, because you can't send it digitally. It's just really hard for all those little check boxes to fill it out with a mouse. Daily successes. 10 calls per day. Add 10 contacts to your database every day. Handwritten notes, we were just talking about them. Could be birthday cards, could be get well cards, could be anniversary cards, could be whatever it is. Try to do 10 handwritten cards every single week. Engage in social media, like, comment, and create your own post. Keep coming to different trainings. Again, tomorrow we're going to be talking in depth about the buyer agency agreement. Highly recommend you guys come to that.
What time is that?
That's the team meeting, so 11 o'clock. So if you can't, it'll be on Zoom too. Remember the do not call us. So as all of us are in bold, so as we're going through that, remember the do not call us.
I have a
I mean,
question
another
about,
affirmation.
where do how exactly do I use the do not call list? Like, is there literally a list somewhere?
There's a website you can go to, but I mean, if they signed up on your site, you're fine. So if you're getting a list from, where else would you get a list from?
Well, so I'm referring to, I was thinking like when he's having us call our database. Like, do I have to go search their name on some kind of deal?
Yeah, because they've given, assuming if they're in your database, they've already given you permission to reach out to them, or you know them.
Cause like, for instance, my phone, most of my people right now, I'm still building my database, but most of my contacts were in my contacts before I became a real estate agent. So it's like,
But you know them. Like,
Yeah.
You're not just calling, like.
so that's more or less, if you have a relationship with them,
Correct. If they don't know who you are, that's where. It's
that's where
hard.
the list, okay.
Like if you went out and, some neighborhoods have like a directory of every person in the neighborhood. And you went and got your hands on that and you just started calling it. You
Okay,
should compare that to the do not call.
gotcha,
Because they didn't give you authorization, like they didn't give you their info.
okay,
So we're not gonna do this, but what want you guys to all do. Think about this for the buyers, think about this for the sellers. Literally take a blank piece of paper, type it out, whatever. What do you want those meetings to be like? What do you want to be in your presentations? And start creating all the materials that would work for that. If you need help with that, get with Mal. She's really good at laying those things out. So if you have the vision and you're struggling to put it together, see if she'll meet you guys one-on-one and she can help you put it together. Only thing I asked about in your presentations, I've seen them as long as 50-some pages long. Every page in either of those presentations should have a purpose. Don't just put stuff in there just because you're like, it should really be 20 pages. It's better to be 8 and every page has a purpose and not have 12 pages of filler. So every page in those presentations should have a purpose. Sound good? All right, guys.